Should we get into Marc Maron here?
Absolutely.
Speaking of left versus right, this Marc Maron has had Austin stuck in his craw for months now. Or I guess not even Austin, but because Theo Von is involved in this too. I'll give him a pass on the Theo Von one. I want to play the Theo Von first because this is how it should be handled. Much like with Anthony Jeselnik. Anthony Jeselnik's joke in his special about Rogan was perfectly fine. I didn't see anyone that had a problem with it. I didn't even say anyone would react to it other than Legion of Skanks, who played it with the intention of like, let's see what this asshole's saying. And they ended up laughing and being like, he's funny. God, we can't even shit on him.
That was great.
So, like, I guess this is how this should be handled if Maron has such a problem with guys like Theo Von and Hinchcliffe and Joe Rogan. Because this I thought was like kind of funny. But then we're going to get into clips where you see where the intent is, which is a little uglier. But this is from, I think, his new HBO special. He posted the clip on Instagram the other day.
I think if Hitler were alive today, he'd probably appear on Theo Von's podcast. And Theo would be like, see, y'all did a lot of meth, right? I mean, all the Nazis were all fucked up on meth, right, Hitler? That shit'll make you crazy, dog.
I gotta say, I am watching that podcast. That is,
yeah.
You know, a more relaxed Hitler. That could be interesting.
I'm assuming you can hear that fine.
I can, yeah.
All right, cool.
No need to pat yourself on the back.
I'm not. I'm sitting here like, all right, here's the first one. Let's get this over with.
But yeah, all right. I like where he's going here. I get the joke. There don't seem to be too many punchlines to it, but I understand where he's going.
And his impression's perfect.
Yes.
3 days and then I ate a live bird. No shit, Hitler, a live bird, bro. Hey, Hitler, you probably didn't even hate the Jews. That was just a meth making you crazy, dog. Hey, Hitler. Do you want to apologize to all the Jews right now on my show? No? I get it.
Like, that's kind of funny. You can tell he's got a real bee in his bonnet about these big podcasters, but like, that's his creative outlet. That's how he gets that message across. Now we all know what he thinks about these guys. Seems good enough for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, enough said. But this angry, bitter guy has gone on every platform that will have him. Actually, there are some that are probably willing to have him that he's afraid to go on. but pretty much every platform that'll open their doors to him, he will go on, and he has the same. I just started he was on Soder this week. The first thing out of his mouth is the same joke we've heard about every podcast now is just guys sitting in a room talking about the last time they shit their pants. He said that on every podcast he goes on. He's criticized the podcasting landscape, how he contributed to it, and he regrets what he did, and all this stuff. But the real source of this anger is that Joe Rogan got $250 million from Spotify, and he just can't let that go. It's exhausting.
Not once, but twice, Mike.
He's so angry about it. So he's on with bad friends, Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino. And again, like he to be fair, they bring up Rogan, but like 3 times he's like, back to Rogan. He's like, I'm not done with this guy.
I think we probably all owe it to Tom Green.
Yeah, we do. I did tell him. Yeah, right. Tom was first
with the video.
Shout out to Tom Green.
Yeah. But yeah, who
doesn't get nearly enough credit for starting podcasting, basically. There's a Why Are You Laughing episode about that. Shout out to Tom Green.
Yeah, I think Rogan is the only one that actually does give him credit.
and Marc Maron now.
Wow, 2 Ps.
With the video podcast.
With the video,
yeah. But yeah, me and who else?
Rogan.
Okay.
Who's that?
Joe Rogan.
Joe.
Joseph Rogan?
Yeah, he's out of Texas.
Oh, Texas. Got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Got it.
Yeah. You love Austin, don't you?
He's running half the planet out of Texas.
Yeah.
He's got a tight hold on the enlightened meatheads.
Dude, Maron's disdain.
It's not disdain. It's reasonable criticism.
Reasonable.
Mark, just admit it.
I think people would care less if he just admitted it.
Mark, it's not disdain. Yeah, he's got a stranglehold on the entire enlightened meathead media. No, I'm not bitter about it. Why? Did I brought that up out of nowhere? What do you mean? What
are you
bitter? What bitter?
What are you talking about?
When was the last time you spoke with him?
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess it would have been at the store. I never talked to him in Austin. I don't go into the club. I don't really think I'm on his radar.
Why?
Hold on. Whoa. Not just why, Craig. Why is one thing. Whether he wants it, maybe he doesn't like Austin. Maybe has no reason to go down there. Whatever. I'm fine with him not going. The idea that he is the biggest detractor of it. He has been so critical of the mothership and what it does, and he's never been there. Are you fucking kidding me, Maron? You've never gone?
Go in there and try to fix it.
But not even fix it. I've been. There's fucking libs. There's liberal comics. DeRosa just did
It's Austin. It's a very liberal place.
DeRosa just did an interview with Joke World, that like comedy news channel. Shout out Joke World. I like them. And they posted a clip. DeRosa did an interview with him where he's like, I don't know where this comes from. I'm here every night. There's liberals bashing Trump. There's trans comics. There's black, gay. Like, it's a very he goes, I can't figure out where it comes from. This idea, and I'll tell you exactly where it comes from. It's that Tony Hinchcliffe has a show where he has open micers on that will sometimes go up and say the word trans to get a laugh. And I got to tell you, I've watched enough Kill Tony. Like, sometimes those people get booed out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
It is not this. And believe me, I think Tony lifts up a lot of people that are shitty comics. Some of those shitty comics are David Lucas and Cam Patterson and a guy in a fucking wheelchair and a guy that shakes and a guy like Casey Rocket is this, weird alt comedian. He's not some racist transphobe. You could say he's not funny, but this idea that it's like this meathead collective being lifted up on Kill Tony or anything. Say what you want about Kill Tony. It's almost exclusively disabled people.
Yeah, and then that one guy that just got a special.
Who's that?
I forget. He had the joke about two gay guys fighting.
Oh, Ari Maddie?
Yeah.
Ari Maddie, Hans Kim. Like, it's all this like weird group of people. The idea that it's just white bro meatheads isn't true. Like, I think some of it gets lifted up. I think that's some of Tony's comedy. I think, like, if you watch Tim Heidecker's parody of Kill Tony, there's a little truth to it. But I think what they're making fun of is just like what reaction immediate comedy is. You could have the same criticism of Tough Crowd back in the day where like they go for the lowest hanging fruit, but that's not because it's easy. It's because the quickness matters. Like Jim Norton's one of the quickest fucking guys ever, but sometimes he makes jokes about race or sex or because that's what's presented to him in that snap moment. And I think that's what Tony does. I don't think Tony's as good as like Norton or Patrice or Colin Quinn at that type of stuff, but I think he's like okay at it. And obviously people like it. That's my thing with criticizing Kill Tony. There's plenty to criticize about it, but to criticize its success is silly. To be like, oh, it must just all be retards. Like Tony must have convinced America to be dumber and like his show. I just don't think that's the case. People like American Idol too, by the way.
It's true.
Yeah, something tells me you are.
I don't, it's weird that you get lumped into a certain thing. And maybe it's my assumption that, his army of healthy fellas.
But who is that? Tim Dillon, Shane Gillis? Like, who is he referring to?
I think he's talking about the listeners.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like there are people like Brian Simpson. Like are these the healthiest guy? Like it's not exclusively that. There's some of that, and Rogan promotes Alpha Brain and TRT and all that shit. But there's some people that don't fit that description at all. So you're just mad at Rogan for being who he is, kind of, right. Which is strange to me.
Army of Healthy Fellas is so good.
You just got to, got to stay and keep the machine.
The machine's got to be good.
Yeah.
That's a shot at Bert. Go ahead.
What do you think the Austin shelf life is going to be?
Well, I don't know. Like, I think that it's so effectively tribalized at this point. It really comes down to material. I mean, at what point it's like whatever they represented in terms of policy,
Sure.
it's not a stretch. It's like they won. Trans people are frightened. They have no ability to get health care anymore. And they're afraid of being alive and have no freedom left. So that's done. When do you stop with the jokes?
Trans people have won golden tickets on Kill Tony. Like, I don't.
Come on.
But like whatever you want to say about healthcare, is Joe Rogan to blame for that?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, is Joe Rogan making policy? It's the silliest fucking thing. And by the way, like, here's my gripe with all of this. It's not even that Maron thinks that. It's that Anthony Jeselnik and Marc Maron have gone on every podcast that would have them and said, "Man, it's a real shame. No one's allowed to criticize Rogan or his group of fucking meatheads."
No shit.
And it's like, how about all these major platforms that not one is pushed back on you? Are you allowed to do it there? All those places? Are you allowed to do it on Netflix and HBO that greenlit those specials? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? They criticize rightfully that Rogan is still like, man, you can't say anything anymore. That's dated and it feels forced at this point. But they're doing the same thing where they're like, God, no one's allowed to criticize Rogan. It's like, really? Because you don't have a second thought in your head. Every podcast I hear Maron on, it's God, this meathead right that's taking off. It's ruining civilization, man. I'm doing my Opie impression. Sorry.
I know what I was gonna say, but it's also Rogan gets criticized by everybody,
Right?
like especially the mainstream media.
And you know, we bring this up all the time. This is a guy who's endorsed Bernie. He's had Andrew Yang on his pod. Like, he's had people on the left, and he invited Kamala on. She just wouldn't do it.
She was too hammered,
Well, I don't know about that.
I think.
And like immigrants, okay, well, they're being ripped away from their homes, and they're all terrified, and okay, so that's done. When do you stop with the joke?
Hold on.
I mean, it's one thing.
Just take it easy.
Sorry.
Some Jerry show.
That's right.
Good. Round them up.
To pick on the vulnerable and the marginalized, but I mean, they're down.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
they're down.
why do you got to keep hitting them unless you're a hack? Now, there's a question.
Like, so he is like trying to be funny. I'll give him that. At least he's calling them hacks, but like, just continue doing the opposite. Lift them up if you think it's so funny. Write a joke lifting trans people up and see how well it performs. I actually think that would be just as hack, because everyone was kind of doing that for a little while, you know?
Mm.
And like, if you want to say like Chappelle's stuff got hack, yeah, the audience responded. Like, the audience was like, Jesus, Dave. And not like, even people that like it were like, we got it. We know what you think about this issue. Like, that's this idea that like Rogan and his crew are untouchable. Look at every channel that makes fun of comedy. Who do they go after most? Rogan, Bert, Tom, Brendan Schaub, Brian Callen, all these guys, like Tony Hinchcliffe. Like, look at Crackamico's songs. You know, are they going after Marc Maron and Anthony Jeselnik? I haven't heard one.
No, I don't think so. I don't believe they are.
Yeah, that's all we do is make fun of those guys. So this idea that like these are gods that can't be trifled with, that is also hack, Mark. Like, you're fighting this straw man argument on every podcast you go on. I started Soder. I'm like 15 minutes. I just started it before the show. I almost hesitate to go back to it because I know Maron's going to, why haven't you asked me about Rogan? I've got a lot to say about him, Dan.
Tee me up like I'm on fucking.
Hold on, Mark.
Unleashed.
Mark, I hear you haven't been to Austin, Texas recently. Is there any reason for that?
Next day, I'm talking about doing Rogan.
So this, to me, is just a cowardly argument. Like, if you have all these problems with him, and by the way, you're so much smarter than him. Like, Maron and Jeselnik actually are these enlightened, like, he's mocking these enlightened meatheads or whatever. So they could pretty easily put Rogan in his place, I think. So why haven't they?
I don't know the last time I talked to Joe. People for a while were like, why don't you go on Joe's show? And my answer to that is like, why?
Why? Right. Well, it doesn't service you.
Well, no, I don't need him. And also there's no way for me to like, what am I going to talk to him about?
Well, I'll tell you, hold on. I'll answer both questions.
Hmm.
Why? It seems to be something you're very interested in. You have toured the country and mentioned him everywhere. That's why. For years, he's been doing Instagram lives where he stares into the camera and says Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle are ruining comedy. There's no jokes to it. He's just like he's angry about it. He's very bitter about it. That's why you would have that conversation. It's the same reason you did your podcast, Mark, to unburden yourself from these grudges. Like, it's amazing. He had this really interesting concept where he would have people on that he had beef with over the years and that he's offended and he was bitter towards and angry and insulted.
Louis.
And he would have,
He did one with Louis.
Did one with Louis. He did one with Dane Cook. He's done a million of them. Where like these people he looked down at and insulted and was rude to over the years, he'd have them on and they'd hash it out. And now he's like, there's this guy that I hate that I'm always rude to. Why would I podcast with him? And what was the second question? What would I get out of it or something? Go back a little bit.
What would we talk about?
Well, what would we talk about? How about what you're talking to all these assholes about? How it's the downfall of society, how Joe Rogan is the cause of ruining trans and immigrant lives, apparently. All these things you could very easily discuss one by one, the things you have an issue with.
To sort of not walk out of there and be like, all right, I guess I'll look at my phone. Oh, fuck. How long is this going to go on for?
Right. But it's like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X made me meeting at one point. Don't you think? Let's go historical with it.
Say it again.
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King meeting. They met at one point.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. And
pioneers of the civil rights movement.
Which one is Malcolm X and which one's Martin Luther King?
Martin Luther King.
I don't really think
that's not Martin Luther.
The analogy doesn't work.
No. He's so bad at analogies. Let him keep on with this. It's going to get funnier as it goes on.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go with more analogies.
He's like, this is if Hitler's and Goebbels had to hang out off the work site.
Why one of those is right.
Yeah.
So, why talk to him, Maron? Because you think he's Hitler. Try and stop Hitler. Why would I talk to him? Also, I'll have this throwaway line where I refer to him as Hitler.
He's unbelievable.
It's so. And here's the thing: is like I'll say the same thing I said about Jeselnik. I like Maron, and I think he's funny. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of comments just like we did with Jeselnik, where it's like he's not even a real comedian. He used to be funny 15 years ago, whatever. Like, I like Maron. I think he's funny, but this is exhausting. Either piss or get off the pot. Shit or get off the pot. Piss.
For real.
What am I, a lady?
Yeah.
Should have get off the pot here, Maron. Piss. Either stop talking about it, get over it, or fucking confront the guy. Don't do this thing where you go around the country, touring the countryside, going, I don't like Joe Rogan. Everybody, Joe Rogan's ruining the nation. Have you talked to Joe? Why would I? No.
This one's Real Reason.
Yeah, so this is what it all boils down to. It's actually got maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with the Spotify deal, but it's got nothing to do with their politics or anything else. It is it's recess. It's schoolyard bullshit, as Maron explains here.
But you do have to understand something. I have known Joe since he started.
Yeah.
I mean, literally since he first set foot on stage.
In Boston,
I was there.
Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember my initial issues where there was another guy, Kevin Flynn, who's out of the game. And he was like a soccer jock. And at that time, Joe was like a regional kickboxing champion. And my initial reaction was like, what are these guys doing here? This isn't for them.
All right.
It's like Louis once said to me years ago when Jay Moore started in New York when he was like 17. He's like, it's not for them. It's not for the good looking guys. It's not for the jocks. This is for us rejects, us guys who don't fit in. That's what comedy was.
It's not that anymore, though, Mark. God damn.
Yeah, it's just shade. And it shouldn't have been that back then, by the way.
No.
The guy we're about to talk about, Bill Burr, there's actually, I think DeRosa told this story or someone. when they were writing Cheat, when Bob Kelly, Joe DeRosa, and Bill Burr were writing Cheat, they would talk about it at the Comedy Cellar. And Keith Robinson would come up to him and go, what are you doing, stupid? You're writing a movie? Like, make fun of him. And Bill went, yeah, we're trying to further our careers, Keith. they got so hung up on like let's just bust each other's balls all the time. Let's insult people. Let's be on the fringes, that they actually didn't like move forward in comedy. And Maron's dealing with some of that, where he's still hung up on those old, where he's like, look at Joe. He's a, I guess, good looking. I don't know. Is Rogan considered a good looking guy when he was young? He was on TV. I assume so. A good looking, in shape guy, cool guy, I guess. He's not supposed to be in our crowd. And he has not let that go for 30 fucking years. Like, it's time to move on, Mark. Now, does the idea that like Matt Rife has a fan base because he's charming and handsome more than funny? You know what I mean? Like, that is true. But is that why Big J Okerson has a fan base? You know?
Right.
Like both can exist in the same world. No offense to Big J. Very handsome guy.
Also, shout out to Matt Rife for following his dreams.
People kept sending me that story. Why should I care about that? That he bought a dollhouse or something.
He bought the most haunted house in the world with like all the most haunted artifacts in it.
Yeah.
And he's turning it into an Airbnb.
Good
If you follow the horror stuff, he like legitimately bought the most talked about haunted item in the world.
That's smart. I don't think that's a bad idea for him.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I would not want to be responsible for it, but
fuck him, man.
Yeah, fuck him.
And if he ever wants to come on this show, I won't have him to address why I think that.
This is the last clip from him, the cultural change.
Yeah, so he's talked about this a lot, and he thinks like Hinchcliffe and Schultz and Rogan have ruined society. And he explains why.
Joe, the thing with Joe, is I don't know that we have about because
they moved on. This is 25 minutes later.
Another thing.
Bobby went on some rant, and a couple times you hear Mark go, but just one more thing about Joe, which is natural in conversation. You're like, hey, I just have one more thought. But they got so sidetracked, they moved on for like 25 minutes. And then he goes, all right, now the only thing I've been thinking about while you guys were yapping away.
I missed all of it.
Of my idea of what he's done to comedy.
Sure.
And I don't think it's great. I think that it's tribalized. And I think that, he's created a sort of army of people that think they know comedy, but they only know a specific thing. And what they think is good is not necessarily good. It may be what they're like.
So who gives a shit?
Outside of that, most of
whoa. So Joe Rogan will talk about guys and be like, he fucking murdered Joey Diaz, destroyed last night. Richard Jenney was a murderer. And I don't necessarily agree with that. So what? What?
That's it.
I listened to Rogan's podcast. Somehow I haven't been brainwashed into thinking those things. Like, so where do we stand? Because there are people that agree with Rogan's take on comedy. And what's interesting is like some of that changes over time too, where you could look back at that Carlos Mencia thing and say that Mencia was right. I'm sorry, not right. Mencia was wronged in that whole thing, where he was made out to look like an evil villain.
He was.
Where, like, at the end of the day, like, he was just a hack comic. You know what I mean?
Stealing.
Like, I agree that he shouldn't have been as famous as he was, but like, if people were like, whatever, just call him out as a hack. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of destroyed him in a way where you could examine that. I'm not saying like we did a whole episode about it. You could examine that and say like, oh, Rogan was kind of a dick to him at the end of the day. Like, Rogan went too hard on Mencia. So what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, where does that leave us? That Rogan has a group of people that agree with him, and some of that agreeing, like, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes on, say, Protect Our Parks, some of those guys probably don't push back on Rogan because he owns a club that they like, and he's done a lot for their careers, and they respect him. So what?
that most of this sort of
Hold on. I just wanted to say, Craig's done with my point, apparently.
I usually wait for you to stop, and then I go.
But I was gonna say, like, you don't think they're fucking? You could go to fucking UCB or whatever and find someone that'll do the same for Marc Maron. Whatever you say, Mr. Maron. Absolutely. Oh, they're rounding up immigrants. You said it, Mr. Maron. Like, you don't think there are ball washers for Marc Maron, who's extremely successful? So that's ridiculous. It doesn't. I don't know what this tribalized thing means that he's talking about.
Well, I think he's got them all because he hasn't changed his tune.
He certainly hasn't.
He must have them around in some capacity.
I would think, yeah. I would think all the people that he has on his podcast and that he appears on, that no one challenges him on this. I think he has his tribe as well, you know?
weirdos that we all grew up with in comedy have been sort of pushed aside, and the space for them has become limited. And it's a little.
But there was a time though that alt comedy was the
not all.
As he's talking to a 5'1" Korean in a very, very redheaded individual. It's all about the good-looking guys now, right, guys?
By the way, who are both like friendly with Rogan and have been on his show.
Yes.
Comedy. I'm not even talking about the alt people.
Okay.
I'm talking about just like interesting stand-ups.
Right.
You know, weirdos.
Yeah. Like
And
Brent Weinbach has a great special.
Sure.
I think he's so weird.
Joe Mandy.
Yeah, Joe Mandy.
You
yeah,
know,
that's
and
right.
now it's like kind of this, you know, there's this cultural idea of what comedy is.
Yeah, like
world.
good-looking guys like Brian Holtzman, who closes out the mothership every night, or like Ron White, who's just an Adonis.
I was just going to say Brian Regan.
these really handsome, or even like in fucking New York, like Joe List, who's doing very well. Shane is probably the most successful comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone look at him and go, "My God, the good-looking guys get all the breaks"?
No, they in fact call him retarded.
Yes, they
All the
say
time.
he's a fat retard, and somehow he's made it to the top.
Yeah.
And I understand I get your perspective.
Yeah.
Is there a world where both these things exist and it doesn't
Well, they
fucking
do.
matter?
They do.
Well, so this is what I always say. Like, I get that you don't like that world. That's part of why I love you, because you're like, fuck that, and you'll shit on it. And that's what's great about
There's
comedy.
some good comics in there, and there's a lot of middle section. There's a lot. I believe that we all exist in the same.
And it
world.
doesn't matter, is my point. I get why you.
It's not all on him.
No,
The culture has changed,
Right.
And and I don't necessarily think for the better, but
That's big of him to admit it's not all Joe's fault, at least. I will give him credit for this. You usually hear these rants about like Trump, and it's like, at least he's the president.
Right.
You know what I mean? At least he deserves to be the target of some of that. Mark is targeting a podcaster, and he's like, he's ruined society.
We have some super chats here.
Well, my final take is, Mark, let it go, or go on the guy's podcast. How great would that be if Rogan was Maron's last guest on that podcast?
That would have been exactly how it should have gone out, Mike.
Yeah, like if Maron has that problem, how about the final beef? That's how the podcast culminates, is the final beef. And Santino brought that up to him and was like, would you do it as like a neutral site or something? They actually were very funny because they said it would be great if we did it in the Bad Friends studio, because people would just be pissed off that Bobby Lee's face is behind them.
Yeah.
But like they should have it out before Maron ends that podcast. I don't know if Joe would do it, but
I think he would, because it wouldn't be necessarily good for him, but I think it would probably be good for comedy in general.
Joe makes little side comments that you can tell the Maron bugs him.
I don't blame him. Like, what is
he's like, this fucking guy is going around bashing me all over the place. And Santino even hinted to that, because Maron goes, I don't even know if I'm on his radar, or like if he notices that I'm talking about him. And Santino goes, I think he notices.
Yeah.
Santino's like buddies with him, so I think he has some insight.
Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Look at me. I did it. Kragers did it.